Today we will be going over our net worth changes for the month of May 2025. There's a lot to discuss as this is our first month of our new tax year, and so I'll go through these lines one by one. First things to note, it's a more streamlined look this year. We've managed to consolidate our accounts, which I would always recommend that you do as much as possible so that you can keep a track of where your money is and what's doing what. So, for example, the pension last year was split out into three, whereas this year we've rolled it all together into one pension. So starting at the top with house equity, we are up on this. However, there has been no increase in the HPI, which is the recognized house price index of generally how much your house price is going up or down based on your local area. As we can see, sales and demand has dipped. There are less people talking about buying. There are less people buying, down by 31% over the last few months, and the weakest figure since mid-2023. So the market right now, very bad. This comes from a few factors, particularly being that the stamp duty break just ended, so first-time buyers are now waiting. They're not sure what's happening. You add that to the economic uncertainty, all of the tariffs coming out from the US, and also job uncertainty in the UK. As we can also see that at the same time, UK unemployment rises to the highest in nearly 4 years, and that is since COVID. So what we need to look at here is that the fact that we have stayed the same and it's not gone down is positive. However, the outlook on this for this year is maybe not so great. Moving on to our stocks and shares ISA. This is red for this month. However, that was due to the start of the month, and this value was taken as of the 1st of May, and so is a little outdated now, but it is down to £68,900. Although considering that we have contributed £60,000, we have not lost any money. If we look at the stock market map as of the 13th of May today, we can see that things have recovered. This is due to the agreement between the US and China to pause the tariffs, which has meant that a lot of stocks have just jumped back up again in the middle of this month. However, we can see that healthcare, and in particular, is one industry that is still in the red, and this largely comes from also Trump because of his order to reduce US drug prices and make them more in line with the rest of the world. So there's definitely a lot of different compounding issues coming into effect here. So the fact that this is down is okay. If we were to look at it as of today's value, we're back up to where we were and maybe even positive. So these tariffs are making things go up and down, but if you just hold fast and stay strong and do not panic sell, then you should, to be honest, end up where you started off. In terms of pension, again, more affected by the stock market as my personal stocks and shares ISA is more diversified. I have global funds, I have minerals, I have things that aren't affected by the US economy. However, pension funds are typically a majority of US stocks, and so my pension has taken a bigger hit than my stocks and shares ISA. We should see this rebound hopefully at the end of the month. In terms of current account, we are holding more cash at the minute due to the uncertainty. We'll potentially invest this, however, I'm thinking of not paying more into my stocks and shares ISA this year, although I do really want to hit £100,000 there and match the amount of house equity I have to the amount I have in stocks and shares. However, as we can see down here, I do have, and I will start tracking now, which I wasn't last year, my student loan balance. At the start of last year, this was about £44,000, and over the last year, we've paid off about £3,000 of capital. So I'm deciding this year whether or not to pay off the remainder of this balance and sacrifice a year of putting into my stocks and shares ISA. However, if I pay off my student loan balance in line with this project and increasing my net worth, it does not directly increase my net worth. So something to consider there, and if I did that, it would mean my net worth stays relatively stable and not changing for this year. So I need to decide what makes me feel better. But yes, lots of cash at the minute, and we need to decide what to do with that. May even decide to pay more off of the mortgage, which remains at £338,000, as there is a remortgage coming up next year, so I would want the best deal on another 5-year term. In total for this month, that brings us to a total net worth of £214,500, so still being able to stay above that 200k mark and working towards our £250,000. The change in net worth was not huge and was slightly eaten away because we did have a big paycheck with our commission, our quarterly commission here. So it was about £10,000 before tax and about £6,000 afterwards. And given that this was good, but then we also lost on the stocks and shares and the pension, we've come to a still positive £2,300. For this year, I would still much like to bring this up to more of a £4,000 or £5,000 average monthly increase, as we want to increase our net worth by more like £50,000 a year at this current stage. I do have another job opportunity coming up, so we may accelerate our savings and our earnings potential, but we'll see how that plays out over the next few months. Let me know how you're doing with your current net worth journey, and I'll see you in the next one.